friends. My name is Ray, and I am a master's student in interior architecture and product design. Today, I want to share with you a little bit of my journey of creating a better mask using a bandana so that I can then have cute little matching bandana and neckerchief. So, here we go. One reason that I'm doing this is because I have a ton of bandanas. I like to accessorize with bandanas. I like to have them in lots of pretty pastel colors. They're fun, they're queer, they're my go-to accessory. Most of the time I end up wearing my actual bandanas as masks anyway because they already go with all my outfits. So I want to make those into usable masks. So first let's talk about this one. It's okay. It's folded, pleated to get the gathering, and then it does have a little metal wire over the nose. And it does alright. It does alright. If I press that down, it's fine. Then I made my own of a similar style. I did the same kind of pleated thing, but no metal nose bar. It also is okay. I find that a lot of these are very tight on the nose, and then when I talk, my moving chin pulls it down. This one's quite nice. It is a jersey knit, and it has a nicer shape to it. It's angled, and then it has this nice curved seam to go out over the nose, and it does have a little metal bar in it. It's pretty comfy, I think because it's a jersey knit fabric. I have a tiny face. I have a child-size head, so I have to tighten these. I think this style probably fits better because it's angled down on the nose, and that's kind of an issue I have with glasses. I don't want my glasses resting on fabric because then they just slide down my face. It has a little bit more room for the nose. I still have a problem with my chin pulling it down. One thing I don't like about it is the color. I hate this color. It's fine if you love this color. I hate it. Don't tell anyone at my university that. Then I made my first sort of bandana attempt. It's not very good. It's just gathered. One thing that I did experiment with was having the elastic straps crisscross across the back of the head. And I quite like that. It's really comfy this way. It does the job of pulling this in the right direction. It's again a little tight over the nose, but I feel like I was onto something here. So then I did another attempt once I realized that I wanted to make bandana masks. I took this old hideous pink, I think it's got some polyester blended in it, with a Hawaiian print. I bought this from Claire's in middle school. We can sacrifice this one for some mask prototyping. So I did kind of more of this shape. I tried to get a little bit more shaping in it. I tried to get kind of that curve, and then I did sew a twist tie from the kitchen into it, just to see about kind of fit and see how I liked that. Same problem with when I move my chin, it pulls the mask down. So then I did another experiment where I was looking at designs that had kind of this triangular tab that goes over the nose, and I wondered if I could do something with that. Additionally, I cut this centerpiece on the bias, so it has a little bit of natural give to it, because something I noticed was the jersey knit, which does have a little bit of stretch to it, was a lot more comfortable. It rests on the nose, just lightly. There's a funny point here, but there's plenty of room, and then it comes under the chin quite nicely. If I were to put other straps here, this would be quite effective. There's plenty of room. I don't feel like my nose and mouth are being squished. It's pretty good. Then I attempted to do that again, but I didn't do as well. I didn't make that center part as small as I needed to, and I didn't make the triangles as wide as I needed to, so it doesn't do really what it should. I put these little ribbon scraps on as a tie. The problem with them is that they're really thin, so when I do tie them behind my head, the knot gets really small, and then I have a really hard time untying it. So if I needed to get my mask off quickly, that would definitely be an issue. Again, with my teeny tiny face, one thing that I did was I made it way too long, and it looks stupid. This is closer to what I want. Somewhere between these two. Let's get started. I don't know if you've ever noticed this, but the hems on bandanas are not very well done. Another awkward thing about bandanas is you would think that they would be a perfect square, but they are often cut poorly as well as sewn poorly because they are very, very cheap items. So a lot of times they're kind of askew and you have weird kind of wonky shaped edges. I'm gonna just accept it and move on. I'm just going to do my best to align it and give myself some kind of guideline. Okay, so now I have to make a choice. So I started kind of running the chalk along the diagonal of the pattern because you can kind of align it with some of the motifs. But because it's, you know, a cheaply made bandana, the actual edges of it don't line up with that pattern. So my line ends just about a centimeter short of the hem. Now I have to decide whether I care about that. The perils of product design, friends. I'm just gonna do it. So first order of business, I think, is going to be finishing the raw edge on one of these triangles. Use whatever technique you want, because you know what, it's just a hem. It doesn't matter. It is many days later. I did finish hemming the other half of this to make into a little neckerchief, so that is delightful and wonderful. So now what I'm going to do is turn this into 2 masks. 2 whole masks, you say. How is that possible? Well, for starters, I have a really small face. So what works for me may not work for other people. You may only get 1 mask out of this. So for me, what works is I actually only need that much in order to make all those parts. But for other people, if your face is bigger, which most people's faces are bigger than mine, you might need more fabric, in which case you can only get 1 mask out of it. I recommend doing a paper template, or at least a mock-up with another piece of fabric or another bandana to make sure that you have the fit that you need for your face, and that is why I did a mock-up with this old bandana that I really hate because it's hideous. It's just so ugly, but I like this. So this is the good one, which I am now going to cut up somewhat confidently because I have practiced. So to start, what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut the bandana down the center this way. This doesn't actually cut nicely on the pattern, which is really upsetting to me. So I think I'm just gonna have to compromise. I'm cutting along the pattern. This is what I've decided. Is it good? Is it right? I don't know. Okay, so now I have 2 triangles. I'm going to kind of overlay them in a way that makes sense. Oh, what if I flip it like this? Is that better? Not especially. Such are the perils of design.
In reality, my pieces are going to be angled and not squared, so I actually don't have to worry too much about their alignment. So I can cut myself a little bit of a break. So I have my two pieces lined up like this. What I'm going to do is then fold this over to that center point, and then I'm going to cut along these edges here so that I cut out essentially a square. Now, if you want to get precise, you can fold these corners up and try to find that center point. Looks like I estimated pretty accurately. I'm just going to double check my template on this to make sure. Yeah, 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 yeah. Okay, now I have two squares, which will be each their own part, double layered part of a mask. Part of it, not the whole thing. So now comes the part where doing your mock-up first is really, really important. I'm going to take these rectangles, and then what I need to do is I need to taper them down, preferably symmetrically from both the top and bottom. As you can see in this mock-up, this central piece is not just a rectangle, but it actually tapers down. The difference between the center and the edge is maybe about 1 centimeter on each side. So getting that right for your own face is essential. This works for my face. Something else might work for your face. Additionally, the triangular pieces that you put on are also going to be different depending on your face. And again, this is why I highly recommend doing the mock-up. These pieces actually started off much bigger, and I ended up sewing in and making them much smaller to fit my own particular face. But ideally it's symmetrical and you have the same on each side. Although, I don't know, depends on your nose and chin ratio and what you want. In order to get the tapering completely symmetrical on top and bottom, I'm going to fold these over again in half. Do a little hot dog fold if you remember your childhood origami terminology. And then fold it over once again from that center point. So you have this much. And what I'm going to do is cut from that top edge in the center down about 1 centimeter. Again, mock it up first. Make sure it fits. I think this will be okay. Fingers crossed. Oh, now I'm nervous. Like, I have professed to you the importance of mock-ups and getting things right for your own face, and am I following my own instructions? You have to remember to allow for seam allowance also, and that's what's making me nervous. Okay. And here we are, friends. Here we are. I think this'll do. This'll do. Now, the triangular parts. One triangle becomes the nose triangle. Double layer. I'm folding them so they all become double layer. And then this becomes the chin triangle, and then I still have these to use for the other mask. I'm gonna go ahead and cut this smaller triangle in half because I don't want to have like one side folded and then one side have a seam, and it'd be kind of weird. So I'm just gonna make everything have a seam. Feel free to not do that. Okay, so I have two pieces layered together. Again, to get it symmetrical, I'm going to fold it in half again. And then I'm going to take this smaller triangular part and line it up at the tallest point. Here they are lined up next to each other. Okay, so I have my seam here. It's folded in half. So this is the tallest point. So lined up with my new piece, I want to take this distance and then add a little bit for seam allowance. So I'm going to start cutting down right about here. Another thing you might want to do is this top point. The way I ended up sewing it on this was it made it very pointy on the nose. So you might want to curve it slightly. So I'm gonna just go ahead and do that. I'm just gonna snip off the tiniest bit of that point just so that I don't end up sewing it in a point. Okay, now I'm going to do the same thing with this piece. Figure out where that point was that I cut off. Maybe don't curve your points until you have cut out both template pieces. Just a thought. Do what I say, not as I do. I will stitch this together. I will stitch this together, and then I will face them and stitch both layers together. I think I am gonna do it by hand. Tiny fiddly things are honestly easier by hand. And I'm just gonna do a simple running stitch. But I'm going to start at my center point, and then work my way down one side and then come back and do the other side, because I would just wanna make sure that that center point is where it needs to be. So I'm pulling my thread through about halfway. So I'll leave this tail end pulled out that much so that I still have plenty of thread to work with when I come back to reattach the other side. It really doesn't need to be anything fancy, especially if the stitches aren't going to be visible, because I'm going to turn this all inside out once I'm done. You don't need a sewing machine, is what I'm saying. And you don't need to be good at sewing either. You can just do it. It can be terrible, and no one's going to see it because you're gonna turn it inside out. Don't let that hold you back. Just go for it. There's not a lot of tricky secrets to making it, you know, not fall apart. You just want to make sure that the sides are attached. Okay, there's one half. Now I'm going to take this thread and attach the other half. Okay. There is one part attached. Now I just need to do this 3 more times. Okay, so I actually just went ahead and finished my mask off camera because I really just needed a mask to wear actually, like, for everyday use, because I needed to be going to the shop on campus to build my furniture prototype. I need multiple masks so I can wear them, you know, clean ones every time I go. So I went ahead and finished it. I attached 2 straps of elastic, and I did them going all the way around the back of the head and then crisscrossing like this. So it works like this. You want to see? This is what it looks like behind. So a few notes about how this mask worked out. It has a really nice fit here. It feels really good. It really fits my face. I was completely on track with cutting it on the bias because while it's tight, it has a little bit of give when I talk and open my mouth. Some things that I think I would need to change. First of all, the elastic is maybe a bit too wide, so it's kind of pulling down my ears, and I look kind of silly. And then also I think the elastic might be just a bit too tight. Really, the straps don't need to do much other than just kind of generally hold it onto your head, because the shape fits so well that it just naturally wants to sit here. And it doesn't need to be like held on by any particularly forceful means. So this has been working okay for me. My ears do get sore after a couple hours, in the shop, and sometimes that can interact with my safety goggles or my welding helmet in kind of uncomfortable ways, but for the most part it's pretty okay. I also frequently wear this around my head to protect my head from the feeling of those welding helmets. And it's nice, it matches, it's wonderful. So yeah, this has been working pretty well for me. I did go ahead and make the second one. So this one, instead of using elastic, I took some jersey knit and I made little straps out of it. And I made this one a lot looser. So actually it's too loose. They kind of just flop. They can, you know, rest over my ears, but they just hang in the back. And this works pretty well. Sometimes I want a little bit more tightness. So what I actually do that works really well is I either kind of tuck them into the knot on the back of my bandana, which it really works. Or sometimes I even, just for extra security, if I'm worried about it, I go ahead and tie the straps into the knot when I tie my bandana, like this. And this is something I've started doing with some of my other masks too, or if I'm just tying a bandana around my face, and then I have another bandana around my head, I can kind of like tie those together, and it holds it up really nicely. I also like to, of course, you know, wear my bandana as a little accessory sometimes too. A lot of times when I go to the shop, I will first tie it around my neck, just to have it with me, and then when I need to put on a welding helmet, then I transfer this to my head. It helps keep my neck warm while I'm walking to campus if it's a little chilly, and then I just wear a beanie, and then when I get there I just like take off the beanie and then tie the bandana around my head. What happens a lot of the time in the shop is I get really hot, so having light mask layers, light layers around my head, you know, keeping cool is very important, especially because all that gear that you have to wear for like welding, it can really weigh you down. And I am a rather petite person, so that can be a bit much for me. So this has been working really nicely. Another update that I have done on one of my other masks is the wire is off center here. This is what happens over time, apparently. On this one, it had these ear straps, but I went ahead, they're so big on me, I went ahead and just safety pinned it like this. So when I put it on, it doesn't even have to go over my ears. I can kind of just, well, yeah, sometimes it needs to go over my ears, but it just kind of goes around, and it's the pressure of holding it around the back of my head instead of it pulling on my ears that it seems to work better. It feels better. I have not yet solved the problem with my glasses fogging up, but having a closer fit over the nose does seem to help. So, that is that. I'm going to make more. I'm going to make a mint green one for myself, and I'm working on a blue one for my mom. I think she'll like it. My mom has a similar size and shape face to me, and she's been complaining about this one feeling like it's suffocating her, which I think is because it's a knit fabric, and you know, knits, while they're nice and stretchy, it is thicker, and so that can really feel like a lot on your face. So the nice thing about the bandana is, you know, this is 2 layers of bandana, and it doesn't have the gathers that this kind does, so there's way less fabric just on your face, and that makes it really thin and breathable, but still substantial enough that you're getting an effective barrier. If you want to be queer and fashionable like me with your accessories, you can make a little mask out of your bandana to match your other bandana, and it works quite nicely. So, thank you for joining me. I look forward to making more videos about all kinds of design and academic subjects and all the things that I'm interested in. This is just the beginning of a hopefully long journey of many, many things. Enjoy. Do you see this? Hello, friends. Are you serious? Are you also serious? Sir, no, you cannot sit on my keyboard. Went ahead and, excuse me, sir. I'm filming a video, can you? Shoo, shoo. Surrounded by cats.